All righty, welcome into the Gary Ayd Show here on the Cave, cavetalkradio.com and the Cave Talk Radio app. Gary Ayd, Rich Anselmo, good to have you aboard. We got a lot to talk about today. We're going to start with something I meant to mention yesterday, and I forgot. So, Kyrie Irving, always good for a quote or two. Sometimes maybe too many, said, and I don't know the context of this recently, I believe he was asked a question, that the sports betting has taken away, quote, the love and purity of sports. I'm sorry. I didn't know we were all altruistic with the 9-figure and 10-figure salaries. I didn't know we were all altruistic with the multi-billion-dollar contracts being signed by these leagues from the broadcast partners. I didn't know we were all altruistic from the fact that people get cut and traded and moved around all the time. Newsflash, Kyrie, sports has never been, quote, pure. And I don't even know what that means. What does that mean? Basically, a bunch of poor guys playing because their life is miserable and they work in the coal mines? Is that your concept of pure? I don't even know what that even means. I've never really understood what people even mean by that. What is this this holy grail of purity that people are looking for? Like, what is that? I don't even know what that is. Like, to me, sports, like anything else, can be a hobby or recreation, or it could be a business or a vocation, depending how good you are, right? That's what it boils down to. For someone like Kyrie, who's amazing, it's a very lucrative vocation, and it's a business in every sense. Like, I don't even know what's he talking about. What is? Well, let's because this isn't a rhetorical question. This is something I've wondered in the past, but it doesn't always come up. What is this mythical purity and this whole concept of for the love of the game and blah and all this other stuff? Like, what is that? Because I could go back as far as you want. You want to go back to the Black Sox scandal 105 years ago? We can do that. I'm sure the ancient Greeks cheated in the first Olympics in some way. You want to go back and dig up some fossils? Like, where does this concept come from? And more to the point, what is it? Because it's not based on anything that's actually happened in real life at any point. Like, I don't know what it is. Because, like, to me, I don't think you can have a, quote, pure existence, because you have to define something before you can have it, right? What is it? Just great players playing for free? Is that what that is? Because there's a word for that. That's called charity.
That's altruistic.
Yeah, that's a charity, right? That's what they do pro-ams for, right? And that's what that is. But like, even, and I've always said this, everything in the world has a self-derived motive. Even the most altruistic of deeds, the reason people do them is because it makes them feel good. There's no such thing as a purely selfless decision in this world. There's not. Which is why the concept of self-direction and freedom to choose your own vocation and pursue your own goals has made America the most successful country in the history of the world over the centuries, because its founding economic and governing principles are the closest to perfectly aligned with the natural nature of humanity, which never changes, as any government structure has ever been. And that's why America had the success it had. Now, getting back to Kyrie in this statement, it's easy to just dismiss it hat out of hand because it's a ridiculous thing to say, and it is. But it's, to me, I think it's more interesting to dive into what the false perception of purity is that he's referencing as some kind of lost Camelot here. Because that's what this is. This is a lost Camelot. This is King Arthur's court here. I mean, like, it's because it never really existed. That's my take on it. It's just whatever he thinks was lost was never there in the first place. Like, most people's take is going to be, well, you know, is the money that cost the purity. No. The purity was never there to begin with. Like, it's a false concept. It's Camelot. That's the best way I can put it. It's the lost kingdom of Camelot, or it can be Atlantis. Take your pick. Do you want an oceanfront property that never existed, or a property in the middle of a kingdom that never existed? Your choice. I like Camelot better. I'm not much of a beach guy. Too many waves.
Sounds about right. Not a real beach guy either.
That's why we live in landlocked New York.
Well, it's funny because so many people love it, and they just say, well, do you like going to the beach? I'm like, in doing what?
Sitting there getting hot and sweaty and then going
Well, we just sit there. No.
It's not my idea of a good time
If
either.
I want to just sit somewhere, I won't leave my house to do it.
And believe it or not, there's other more convenient ways to look at pretty women in limited clothing. Just gonna leave it at that.
Yes, there is.
So if that's your jam for the beach, I got an easier solution to that too. Yeah, I've never been a beach person either. So what, am I going to go in the salty water and get tangled up in seaweed, get my toe pinched by a crab, get stung by a jellyfish, get stuck in a riptide? Like, no. Give me a pool, man controlled, and yeah, let me sit in the air conditioning, not in the hot beach with getting sand in my ears. Stepping on.
You do not want to get stung by a jellyfish.
No, it hurts like hell.
Yes.
I've had it happen before.
Yep.
It's not fun. Those little things hurt so much.
One of the reasons I don't go in the water.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff. So
I wasn't made to be there.
That's right. I'm not a fish.
Like a fish isn't made to be out of water.
That's right.
Take a fish out of water, put him behind the wheel of a car. He's not going to drive.
That's right.
So they need to be in water. I need to be out of water.
That's right. All right. So
the universe is balanced.
That's right. Absolutely. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. NFL free agency opened yesterday. A lot of moving parts. We'll get into that at about 10:30 or so. Coming up, we have the question of the day, of course, as per normal. But hey, right now you see Rich drinking his coffee. Well, I'll tell you what, we got some coffee for you. It's called Days Coffee. It's right here in Middletown. It's a great, great cup. And we're going to tell you all about it during the break. But for you listeners who are watching the show live right now, I'm putting a QR code up on the screen as we speak. You can scan this and get a nice offer on Days Coffee, $2 for $4 worth of store credit. Go and scan that right now, and we will take a quick break, come back, do the question of the day right over there. That's right. Rich is pointing to it. We'll see you on the other side. It's the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Coffee lovers, Middletown is now officially home to the home run of our favorite beverage, Days Coffee. Days' patented blend contains approximately 85% less caffeine than other coffees, which makes it better for you, yet unlike decaf coffee, still gives you that great pickup and tastes amazing. Formulated by a retired cancer pathologist, Dr. Grant Lee, Days Coffee is fermented with a patented enzyme that until now required a complex and thus expensive sourcing and production process. With Dr. Lee's formulation, this enzyme's great health benefits can now be brought to your cup quicker, easier, and cheaper than ever before. Here's how you get a hold of this game-changing cup of joe. Go over to RadioOnlyDeals.com and get a $4 gift certificate to Days Coffee for just $2. That's RadioOnlyDeals.com to buy your single-use digital gift certificate for Days Coffee. RadioOnlyDeals.com. That's RadioOnlyDeals.com. Enjoy the preferred coffee of the Gary Ayd Show. Enjoy Days Coffee.
Are you like me? You have health insurance, but you don't have dental insurance. Do you need to get to the dentist right away? Maybe you need an implant or some other major service. Well, I found a dental insurance plan that's just right for you. It's called Spirit Dental. Spirit Dental offers a $100 lifetime deductible, a huge network of dentists. And here's the best part. There's no waiting periods. Yeah, that means you can call right now and have real dental insurance for you and your family tomorrow and get that immediate coverage you want. Spirit Dental has plans for just a few dollars a day, up to $5,000 annual maximum, and coverage for implants. Whatever age you are, the dental insurance you need is a free phone call away. Now don't wait, and be sure to ask about Spirit's vision plan. Here's the number: 800-631-9229. 800-631-9229. That's 800-631-9229.
All righty, we are back, and Rich had something to say about the Kyrie and Stephen A. Smith stuff. While he does that, I'm going to get us set for our question of the day. What do you got, Rich?
Oh, we were talking about Kyrie earlier, mostly you.
Yep.
But I get it, and this is not the first time Kyrie's been questioned. But I'm kind of fascinated that Stephen A. Smith actually admitted he has a personal beef with the man. He's been quite blunt about his feelings about him. In fact, Smith and Jay Williams were having a debate, which actually worked its way into a full-fledged argument. And Williams called out Stephen A. for having a beef with him, which at the time Smith said, no, I don't have a beef with him. Fast forward to now. Stephen A. Smith just really turned it right around. He goes, yeah, we do have a personal feud. Said Kyrie and I have our differences on a personal level, which is none of anyone's business, and I'll never tell why. He knows why, and his daddy knows why. Okay, just saying that bugs me because now I want to know what Kyrie and his daddy know.
Yeah.
I want to know what's going on between them two.
Right. And it's just a pure guess. Anything, it could be anything, right? It could be absolutely anything. It could be woman related, perhaps. Maybe it's, who knows? I mean, I know this. Stephen A. was highly vocal about the whole vaccine thing on one side, and Kyrie was highly vocal about it on the other. And I know Stephen A. Smith and Kyrie's father have known each other for a lot of years. So it could be something related to that. Who the hell knows? But I'm like you. I would like to know the details too. But yeah, I guess we're not going to.
I don't think we are. It's just weird because
it is very weird. Yeah, it's very strange. Okay, well,
but why even go there if you're not going to say anything? Just
right.
Let it go with I don't have anything to say about the man.
All right, well, there you have
Why
it.
are you screaming at Jay Williams about it? I mean,
yeah, it's an interesting development, that's for sure. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get ourselves situated for our question of the day, shall we? Maybe it'll answer the question of the day, which is, what does Stephen A. have against Kyrie? Yeah, probably not. My dad's going to answer that, but we can only hope. Anyway, here it is, the radio question of the day.
Native athletes make up less than 1% of NCAA participants. I am KO. Back in 1 minute with your sports question of the day.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happens. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
800-436-2290. 800-436-2290. 800-436-2290. Again, that's 800-436-2290. Paid for by NPS.
Collegiate track athlete Rosalie Fish is being featured in a new campaign to promote diversity. The Who is a Runner initiative highlights a diverse array of athletes and tells meaningful stories about the barriers they face in sport. In an op-ed for Well and Good, Fish addressed the need for more Native collegiate representation. She said, "My being here isn't just about me or my individual community. It's about helping Native youth see themselves represented in college sports." Question: do you think public service initiatives will or will not increase American Indians' participation in college sports?
Good grief.
I can't speak to this. I just,
yeah. I mean,
I'm not in their shoes. I don't know.
Well,
I mean-
I know these type of social engineering initiatives happen all the time. I'm a big believer in people are going to naturally gravitate toward what they identify as something they want to do. And that comes down to culture, to upbringing, to where you're from. Perfect example. There's a lot more, there's a much higher probability of you going into a computer science field if you were born and raised in an Indian family than if you're born and raised in a Latino family. That's not because Latinos aren't capable of it. It's because just culturally, for whatever reason, for whatever the origin, there's a lot more people from the first background who have done that. And it's very common with all races of people that what people in your family and immediate surroundings have done in the past, you're predispositioned to kind of go in a similar direction. There's a reason you have, for example, families. My one friend, Rob, he's the first in 4 generations to not work at the post office. But he's the 4th in a long line of generations to all be Freemasons.
Oh, wow.
So, and people generally will kind of go in a general direction that is in line with how they were raised and where they were raised and who they were raised by and around. So to me, it's just a cultural identification. And when you try to engineer that as a non-familial entity, it's one thing if a parent wants to introduce their kid to something that's maybe outside of their circle. I think that's healthy. I think that's cool. But it's the parent that's doing that. That's what makes it healthy and cool. The idea that some governing body, some nonprofit or whatever the entity is, knows better. Oh, there has to be more Indian representation or more white representation here or black representation there. Who the hell are you to say that? Like, why does it matter? The parents are the ones who should be like, you know what? I think my kid could do good to learn more about running because he eats too many Cheetos or whatever. You know, like that's not society's job. It's not their place. Like I'm raising my kid, not you. Like, get out of here. That's my general take on this. The hell.
Did I misunderstand the question? Are we talking Indian or Native American?
Well, while the question was Native American, I used the example of the actual country of India in my programming analogy.
Okay.
Yeah. So
okay.
So the question relates to the Native American population, but I was using the country of India, people from that region, as an example of a cultural predisposition to something. So I just use that as an analogy.
Okay.
Yeah. Because
as far as Native Americans in sports, a lot play lacrosse.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Does that mean they're incapable of running? No. Obviously not.
It's just the sport of their people, just the way soccer is the sport of the Latino community.
Right.
It just is. Basketball is the sport of the black community.
Baseball involve running.
Right. Baseball has historically been the sport of whites, Japanese, and Hispanics. Like, that's just what it is. It's not wrong. It just is.
So see, then the whole question throws me because they're already in larger numbers participating in a sport which requires, running.
A lot of running, yes.
Yeah, they are all runners. Do we need to have something to show this because they're not running track, which is,
Well,
I mean, I have always said, and the reason I don't like the Summer Olympics, track is the second most boring sport in the world. The first is field, whatever that is. So who cares if we're all runners or they're all runners or anyone's all runners? It's ridiculous.
I couldn't agree more. I really couldn't agree more. And it's funny too, because like ultimately most sports involve a significant amount of running, right? Like, so what are you proving with it? Okay, you can run really fast. Okay, good. Or you can run for really long distances. That's nice. I don't need to watch you. Sprints, I am mildly interested in watching. They're short and they're explosive. I can mildly get behind like the 100-yard dash, for example, the 100-meter, whatever it is.
Very mildly.
Mildly, but it's, it's quick and it is interesting to see how fast people can go. I am not going to watch you run around a circle. It's the same reason I don't watch any kind of auto racing, particularly NASCAR. I'm not going to watch you drive around or run around the circle over and over and over again. I got better things to do with my time, like count the ceiling tiles. Like, I'm not doing that. It's like, nope, not happening. And yeah, and this is the thing. The last thing I'll say.
There's a track meet on. Nope, sorry.
Nope.
I just painted this table. I gotta watch it.
I got another meeting to go to. I can't go to that one. I got a meeting with my pillow. Oh my goodness.
Now, and I'm sure some people love it.
Good for them. Yep, have at it.
I don't get the we're all runners thing. I mean, everyone has played a sport where they've ran.
Yes.
Technically, we are all runners. I don't think we need a government campaign to show this.
Nope.
Maybe the kid at a video game console for 10 hours a day, stuffing his face with Cheetos and formerly frozen burritos.
Come on,
needs
Rich.
to do some running.
Come on, Rich. Don't pick on our buddy John like that. It's not nice. But he'll bench press both of us put together. So there's that too. So
not me. I didn't make any ridiculous statements. I'm just throwing it out there.
I mean, John and I have had
that bullet.
John and I have had many Cheetos together playing NBA 2K online.
Okay, but you also get out and move.
He admits it.
Yeah, but I'm sure he also moves.
Yeah, from one TV to the next, probably.
Hey, it's still moving. I count it.
That's right. Absolutely.
I count it.
I'm all about the Cheetos. Crunchy or puffed, though? That's the big question.
Puffed.
Ah, wimp.
Gotta be puffed. Crunchy are all right, but
what do you got, John? Crunchy or puffed? Since you're the expert on this. I'm going crunchy. We need a tiebreaker vote. Rich goes puffed. I'm going crunchy. We need a tiebreaker. What do you say, John? You gotta break this tie. Because I'm telling you, like my wife.
What if he says both?
That's a cop out.
No, it ain't. What if you like both?
My wife does the jalapeno or the flaming hot crunchy ones. Those are her favorites. Buffet.
Who doesn't like a good buffet?
They are awesome, aren't they? The only problem with them is they're all China buffets, most of them. And Chinese food has this weird trait of filling you up to the point where you can't eat another thing for about an hour and then you're hungry again.
So they get you to go back. See, bring a book with you. Sit there for a while.
Be that guy. Oh, that's wrong. Oh,
be that 4-hour buffet guy.
Someone's gotta be that guy. Oh my goodness.
I had a couple of very large friends in Phoenix who loved going to this one buffet. I said, "Why do you go there so much?" He said, "We want to eat so much that we're going to close it." And they eventually did.
They got it to go out of business? Is that
got it to go out of business? I'm like, that's cruel.
That's messed up. What way to screw it up for the rest of us?
But there used to be non-Chinese Chinese buffets.
No, there still are some. I mean, Golden Corral is probably the most notable example.
Yeah, there was another big chain too that kind of went away after COVID.
Country Cooking or something like that.
Old Country.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's a Southern chain. Yep.
And they had them all over, but they all had like about 6 different names.
Yeah.
But it was the same company.
There you go. All right. Well, let's take a break. We'll come back. NFL free agency is next. A lot to talk about. Jimmy G is a new home. Eagles lose a key piece. Niners pick one up. Niners lose a key piece. So a lot to talk about. Giants making some moves. Jets, maybe. We'll talk it all over next. The Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't, and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free call. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. That's 800-741-9557. If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. If you administer insulin 3 or more times per day or use an insulin pump, call now and learn how a CGM can help you.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
You can reduce pain right away. Plus, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you spend more time in range. And if you have insurance, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Call now and get free shipping of your new CGM. Plus, we'll bill your insurance for you. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. That's 800-826-5884.
All right. So I want to start, Rich, real quick with your hometown Buffalo Bills. They lost a big piece, a guy we kind of anticipated probably wouldn't be retained. That's Tremaine Edmonds, the linebacker. That's a huge loss, but they did bring in a pretty good offensive guard in Connor McGovern, as well as a decent linebacker in Matt Milano. I'm curious your thoughts on, Milano was a re-sign, so their acquisition is Connor McGovern. They're losing Edmonds. Your thoughts on those transactions?
Edmonds can be replaced. Not an easy replace, but they can replace him. Offensive lineman was crucial. This team was just dominated by the Bengals on the offensive line. And they need, I think I had told you, I felt they needed 3 new linemen.
Yes.
Immediately. Edmonds came in when he was like 19. He only played 2 years of college. Very young, very raw, has all kinds of ability. Missed a lot of tackles, didn't really make a lot of plays on the ball, where Milano's like a ball magnet. And I think it was just time for a change. They didn't want to pay him what he was asking. They're over the cap. I'm sure they've restructured a few deals to get the guard signed. But everyone's saying running back, wide receiver. I say the offensive line was their biggest need.
Yeah.
And if you watched them in both playoff games, actually, that line wasn't right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that certainly the line was definitely a point of needing addressing, and McGovern's a pretty good player. He's a stout guy, obviously a very strong guy. All NFL linemen are, but I still think this team needs a second primary weapon. I think that in addition to Diggs, they need one other guy that defenses game plan for, whether that's a running back or a receiver. They need one. Um, Now a couple other things. Jimmy Garoppolo has a new home. The Las
He does.
Vegas
I was kind of
Raiders.
surprised by it.
He does have the tie-in with McDaniels. And he should be the unquestioned starter, which is probably what he was mostly going for at this point. So
And they signed Jacoby Myers to help him out.
the backup, right?
No,
The receiver. Okay, yep, yeah. I think they're also going after. I think there was another guy too that they were going after. A couple of receivers. So there's a couple of moves happening in Las Vegas, which is really cool. They honestly were a real disappointment last year. I thought they were supposed to be better than they turned out to be. Jacoby Myers was the top receiver in New England last year. Dylan points out in the chats. So we'll see how that plays out. The Niners made a big play. They picked up, I believe it's Hargrove from the Eagles, the defensive lineman. That's a big move. They lost one of their key offensive linemen. He went over as a free agent. I think it was McClatchy, something like that.
Oh, yeah.
He signed elsewhere, but they also brought in the Eagles' best player, one of their best defensive linemen, I should say, in Hargrave. That was a big move. I'll tell you what, the Niners are going to be really good all over again. They really are. I just hope they can get healthy. It's Mike McGlinchey, and he went to Denver. So he signed a massive 5-year deal with them, which include $50 million in guaranteed money, $87.5 million deal overall. So big move for them. Locally,
and they got Hargrave, so that
Hargrave went
makes
to
a
the
good
Niners,
defense
yes.
even better.
Exactly. Yep. Looking at some of these other deals, Jason Kelsey is going to play at least one more year with Philadelphia. The Giants put the franchise tag, as we know, non-exclusive tag on Barkley. They re-signed Jones to that long deal. Sterling Shepard quietly signed a 1-year deal to remain with the team. Jared Davis, the linebacker, re-signed. Their biggest external signing was Bobby Okirky, who agreed to a 4-year deal with the Giants, including $22 million in guaranteed money. So that'll shore up their linebackers a little bit. I feel like the Giants haven't really addressed their biggest need here, though, which to me is another a deep threat receiver, some type of like take the top off type of player. I don't think they've addressed that yet, and I'm surprised about that.
Well, you were just saying Buffalo needed the same thing.
Yep.
I am thinking where I'd rather see them go O-line because it's a desperate need. What you have invested in your quarterback needs to be protected. And I think you can get receivers in the draft, and there are good ones.
Yep. No, that's true. I know that Hopkins is likely available via trade. And I'll tell you, if I was the Bills, the Jets, or the Giants, those 3 teams, all 3 New York teams or New York area teams, to be technical, I would be interested in finding out what it would cost to get him. Because to me, he transforms all 3 teams in a major way. I would be making those calls if I were one of those 3 teams. Now, if I was a team like the Niners, like we were just talking about, they don't really need that. I think all 3 New York area teams, the Giants and Jets need a playmaker, period. The Bills could use a second one.
Yes.
Yes. Hopkins is
Every
a
team
beast.
needs multiple.
Yes. Yes.
In today's NFL, you have to have it. Well, the funny thing is, when everybody was going over the wall because they signed Von Miller last year, a scout that I know quite well is the only person who agreed with me that that could have been a mistake and that they should have went for Hollywood Brown instead. Because my whole philosophy is give Allen a crap ton of weapons. Give him an offense that can put 45 up any day. Because defenses don't totally stop people anymore anyway, with very few exceptions.
Right.
The Niners are one.
Yep.
But to me, I'd rather have the offensive weapon than the defensive weapon, especially giving someone 5 years at the age they did with Miller.
Yeah, I understand that.
To me, it was all about getting Allen weapons.
Yeah, I think they need one more. I don't think they need a lot more. I think they need one more because I think they have peripheral weapons who, in the right peripheral roles, are good. So, for example, like I think Davis is a perfect 3.
Right.
But
Knox is a good tight end.
He's a good tight end. But
the year before, he was a very good one, but
neither
they don't
of them
have an offensive coordinator that know how to use it.
But neither of them, from what I've seen of both of them, is a clear 2. They need that second guy, whether it's it could be a running back or a receiver. Actually, in some ways, I thought they should have been in on Barkley, and maybe they were, but the Giants, of course, wanted to retain him and had the inside track, and that makes perfect sense. But
the only running back I've heard from anyone that they've even shown an interest in is Cook out of Minnesota.
Minnesota, okay.
So they must want both brothers. I don't know.
Well, didn't Diggs say he wants to play with his brother? Would like to. There's a lot.
Yeah, but Diggs does not want to go to Dallas.
Right. Tell you what, let's take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to do sort of a part 2 of this. We kind of recap the moves that have already happened and maybe second guess some of the ones that have happened recently. Now, when we come back, we're going to go through the list of available free agents who are still out there and maybe make a couple of suggestions of where they might fit best. So that's what we're going to do next. We'll be right back. It's the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call. Because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at crazy low prices. They have access to great prices and discounts at over 500 different airlines. Plus 300,000 hotels and rental car companies. Their prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find the best price for you. Call SmartFares today and get ready to see the world with a fat wallet.
800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. That's 800-370-2460.
Come on, you watch the news. Be prepared to pay more taxes. Then if you owe back taxes or haven't filed in a few years, get ready. The IRS, the largest collection agency in the world, will be coming after you with the power to collect taxes by any means they want to. Hey, they can freeze your bank account, your passport, even padlock your business. Oh, good times. Look, if the IRS claims you owe them $5,000 or more in back taxes and they're coming after you, don't panic. Call my friends at Get a Tax Lawyer first. Their job is to negotiate with the IRS and save you money. They're experts at it. That's all they do, and you can trust them. In some cases, they have reduced a $50,000 tax bill to less than $1,000. If you owe the IRS $5,000 or more in back taxes, call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. That's 800-649-8617.
All right, we're back. Gary Ayd, Rich Anselmo. It's the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave. one thing before we get to the available free agents, Rich, one thing that I wanted to kind of hammer home from our last segment is I think ultimately the team that really improved themselves the most here, in my estimation, very quietly, was the Pittsburgh Steelers. They signed Patrick Patterson, who's a future Hall of Famer, and he's just going to slide right in and just be a really good player for them. And that was just done so quietly, so matter-of-factly, and with so little fanfare. But he's going to just make such a huge difference.
I agree. I also think the Raiders helped themselves.
Yes, they did with Jimmy G. I totally agree.
Not only getting a quarterback, but getting a couple of weapons to go around an impressive group of weapons they had before.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. A couple names here. Dylan sent us a list here. There's a number of players out there. David Montgomery, Fletcher Cox. I thought I had read something about him agreeing to go somewhere, but I could be mistaken. The defensive tackle.
I actually had Fletcher Cox on a list. So
you got Alan Lazard, who's been linked to the Jets and the Raiders.
Yes.
Juju Smith-Schuster, of course, is out there. Marcus Peters, the defensive back. Adam Thielen, OBJ. Jamal Williams, the running back. Miles Sanders. I thought he signed somewhere.
Sanders on my list is still a free agent.
Yep. Okay. And then Jadeveon Clowney is still out there as a veteran pass rusher. Those are some names. And then they continue. I mean, there's a lot. You got Orlando Brown Jr., the tackle, is out there. Bobby Wagner, we know, is out there. Dalton Schultz, he's an excellent tight end. James Bradbury, looks like their Eagles going to try to retain him. Jordan Poyer is another name, good safety. Davlin Tomlinson, the defensive tackle, is a good player. There's so many.
Miles Sanders.
Yeah, we mentioned him. Yep.
Yeah, Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yep, mentioned him.
John's available.
Yep. Amazing list. I'll tell you what, if I was let's go with the local teams. If I'm the Giants, let's start there. If I'm the Giants, my initial target is probably either Smith-Schuster. It's probably Smith-Schuster. I want, even though Thielen's a pro's pro, I'm looking for someone with a little game-breaking potential here. That's what I'm looking for. I have possession receivers. I don't have game-breaking receivers. So I would be going after Smith-Schuster, or I'd be looking at a reunion with Odell Beckham. I would. Those two.
Why not both?
Well, why not both? Those would be the guys I would be calling. If I'm the Bills, I am burning up the phone to speak to David Montgomery. I think he's just great. And then Adam Thielen, I think, would fit there very well. Those would be my two calls if I'm Buffalo.
I think you need a pure deep threat.
Yeah, I agree. So, Beckham or Smith-Schuster, again, comes to mind. Montgomery, I think, really would help them. And if I'm the Jets,
I think Thielen would be perfect for the Jets.
Yes, I agree. I was going to say that. I think Thielen would be the guy for the Jets.
Whoever quarterbacks them, it's not going to be Mike White.
Or Dalton Schultz. He'd also be pretty good. A good safety valve at tight end. The Jets don't have an excellent tight end right now. That would be really good. Mike Gesicki is also available at tight end. He's another good player.
Yes. A very underrated tight end.
It's good stuff. I mean, obviously there's a lot of these guys. They're not all going to get signed by the Giants or the Jets or the Bills. Maybe none of them will be even. Is there a name on this list that you just see and say, oh, he belongs here, whether it's a local team or not? Because to me, I see the name like James Bradbury, and I was
thinking about him.
It screams Baltimore to me. Like, he would just fit there so perfectly.
that works.
I mean, he's the definition of Baltimore. Bobby Wagner, too, to be honest with you. Both of those guys. I mean,
I still think he goes back to Seattle. I think that's in him.
Yep.
And I think that I really do think that's where he's going to end up.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Fletcher Cox.
Yes.
Been around, but where do you see him going?
I mean, if I was Philadelphia, I would want him back myself. I think he's I think he's good where he is.
Oh, I do too.
And if I were him, I mean, I know this. If I was one of these free agents on Philadelphia, they have a lot of them this year. I'm not trying to leave there if I can help it. I mean, we were whiskers away from winning the Super Bowl.
And you still have a very good team.
I agree.
Yes, Dylan, I meant he's been around a while, not to a number of teams.
Dylan's like, can you stop taking all my guys? Sorry. Hey, that's what happens when you're the best team in the NFL for most of the year. You get pilfered. That's how it goes.
People want your players.
That's right. That's how it goes. All right. Well, that's a good look at the NFL free agency. We got a lot more to get to with this, obviously, over the coming days. This will be something we keep an eye on. We'll update this list as it happens. So we got a couple minutes before the top of the hour. So, Rich, why don't you give us a quick hockey report?
Let's see what we got here. You throw these things at me, and I'm totally not ready. We had a very, very light night last night in the NHL. I think there was 3 games. One involving locals. Buffalo went up to Toronto, pulled out a nice 4-3 win, and an excellent effort. And what really impressed me the most, when they were doing the national anthem, they started the American anthem, the microphone cut out. I don't normally have a lot of nice things to say about Maple Leafs fans. I think they're some of the most entitled. Well, it's the entitlement that fan base has rivals the Cowboys. But 75% of them, when that mic went out, sang the American anthem.
Well, that's cool.
And I thought, this is very cool.
That is very cool.
And that's it. It was just 3 games last night.
Okay.
And no real big headlines, no real news.
All right. No worries.
It was quite the quiet night.
The quiet night on the Western Front. All right. No big deal. John.
And a shout out to Alex Tuck. He comes back after being out with an injury for 2 weeks. And he is kind of one of the engines that make the Sabres go. Played in his first game since February 24th and scored 2 goals, one of which was the game winner.
There you go. That's pretty cool. That's awesome. All right. Well, there we have it. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. Hour 2 is around the corner. We got the top 5 to go. Of course, we have lots of NBA to get to, news you can use. And we start some new divisions today in our baseball preview. We've completed the AL and NL East, the AL and the NL Central. So now we move on to the West.
The West.
And this is going to be a lot of fun. Baseball is around the corner. Opening day is about 8-10 days away now. It's about 10 days away or so. It's
coming up so fast.
It's getting there. So we're going to finish this up here in the next couple of days. So just to give you a quick primer of what we have in store for everyone, we're going to go with the Western divisions today, as I mentioned. And that's going to be, of course, in the NL West, we know those teams, the Dodgers, the Padres, and everyone else. So we're going to start like we did the previous time, sort of from the bottom up. So we'll start with the Texas Rangers in the AL West. And
sounds good.
And we'll start with the Arizona Diamondbacks in the NL West. So Arizona and Texas today. But first, right now, it's time to take a break. We will come back. Before we do, it's time right now. I know what I'm going to do during this break. I'm going to recharge with some coffee. So you should do the same thing. Days Coffee in Middletown, one of the best spots around. I love going here. It's actually a home run for us coffee lovers. They have a patented blend, contains 85% less caffeine than normal, but it fills the need. Gives you that pickup still, but it's easier on your stomach if you're sensitive to coffee. And I'll tell you what, it's also delicious. It's formulated by a retired cancer pathologist, Dr. Grant Lee, and it's got fermented enzymes, which give it that less caffeine, healthier, but more complex taste. And with that formulation, it is now affordable. See, this type of coffee's been around for a while, but it was always expensive to produce and distribute, thus made it expensive to purchase. Not anymore with Dr. Lee's formulation. And if you want to get a hold of this at an even better rate, here's what you do. You go over to radiodeals.com, radioonlydeals.com, and buy a gift certificate to Days Coffee, which is on North Street, Middletown, $4 face value for just $2. So you walk in there, redeem this gift certificate, which gets sent to you via email, and you are automatically able to use $4 in free store credit, which is basically 1 cup of coffee. It's awesome. So that's radioonlydeals.com and click the buy now button for Days Coffee. Get your $4 gift certificate. Or if you're watching the show right now, you can click or scan, I should say, the QR code we just put up on the screen. We'll leave it on the screen throughout the break. We'll be back after this. I'm going to go get some coffee. You should do the same at Days Coffee. Back with hour 2 on the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave. All right, we're back here on the Gary Ayd Show, Hour 2, here on the Cave, cavetalkradio.com, and the Cave Talk Radio app. It's great to have you aboard, Gary Ayd and Rich Anselmo. And it's time now. Top of the hour means one thing. It's time for the top 5.
This is the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time for King Talk Radio's Top 5.
All right, there we have it. Thank you, Jack George. What do we got today, Rich?
Well, on the first day of free agency,
Yes.
I want to know your top 5 all-time best liked free agent signings.
My personal favorite.
Yes, your personal top 5
Yep.
NFL free agent signings. Doesn't matter the team.
Yep, okay.
Just signings you thought either moved the needle or were just great for a team.
Got it. Off the bat, I knew that whatever team got Peyton Manning in free agency was going to win at least one Super Bowl. So I was rooting like hell that my Niners were that team. And I remember they were involved in it. And I remember Alex Smith was the quarterback at the time. And he said something fairly kind of weak to the effect of, well, I don't think it's right that they're I don't know his exact words, but basically he was aggrieved that they would consider Peyton Manning when they had a quarterback. And I remember thinking at the time, yeah, but you're Alex Smith and he's Peyton Manning. Like, like, sorry, these aren't alike. It's like, oh, why are you considering buying a house? You own a house in the suburbs. Yeah, but I just don't won the lottery and I can buy a house in Beverly Hills now. It's not the same thing. It's like, yeah, I still have a house, but I can get a much better one now. It's like, come on, man. So,
that's moving the needle.
Yes. And it was, to me, it was a foregone conclusion that whoever signed him was winning at least one Super Bowl. So, and of course, Denver did, under maybe different circumstances than I expected, but still, because remember the year after he signed, he set all kinds of NFL records, which actually still stand.
Right.
So that was one of them. When Deion Sanders signed with the Niners, I remember being really excited about that one as a kid because he was one of my first favorite players. Him, Barry Sanders, John Elway, and Jerry Rice and Steve Young were probably my first favorite 5 players in football. In fact, they were probably my favorite players in any sport at the time. My order of sport preference is kind of interesting. Of course, the NBA is my favorite. Baseball and the NFL football kind of jockey for second place. They kind of move between second and third based on whatever athletes are active at any given time. During like the Bonds, Clemens, Randy Johnson era, baseball was a clear number 2. From pretty much the time those guys retired until maybe about 2 years ago, football had overtaken baseball in my mind during the Peyton Manning, Ray Lewis era, we'll call it. And then since those guys have retired, there was about a 3 or 4 year window where it was like, okay, I'm not really sure. They're kind of tied. And now in the last 2 years, baseball has moved back ahead of it for me. So those two have always fluctuated. But anyway, football was the first sport I knew star players in. That's what I was getting at.
Okay.
It was the first sport I was aware of. Yeah, okay, John Elway's really good. You know, like I knew who John Elway and Steve Young and Jerry Rice were before I knew who Ken Griffey Jr. and Hakeem Olajuwon and David Robinson and Michael Jordan were. I probably knew Jordan about the same time as the football players because he was such a big cultural icon at the time. But
right.
I understood the distinction between regular and great football players before I understood the other sports. So anyway, so Deion Sanders signing with the Niners was a big one. Peyton Manning a couple of years ago. You know, I thought Von Miller signing with I'm gonna disagree with before. I thought Von Miller signing with Buffalo, he's like the Pied Piper. He goes around and he just wins and he makes big plays in the playoffs. And I think his lack of availability in the playoffs had a lot to do with that team not maybe living up to expectations. I think this guy is one of those rare people, similar to Manning, similar to Brady. Ray Lewis is like this. Tim Duncan was like this in the NBA. They radiate winning. Like their mere presence around makes it imperative that you win. It makes it likely you're going to win, and at least to some level. And he's such a great player on top of that. So to me, I was excited last year for Buffalo for that reason. Now, the injury unfortunately kind of short-circuited that. We'll see if he can pick up where he left off this year. But to me, when they signed him, I just remember thinking, oh, baby. Like I just remember thinking that was a big deal. Let's see. A few others. You know, when the Steelers, who aren't known to be a big free agent team, when they brought in the wide receiver, now I'm drawing a blank. I'll come back to it. Let's see a few others. I don't like a lot of I don't like the Cowboys that much. I don't like a lot of their fans, I should say. I don't dislike the team. But when they signed Alvin Harper in the early mid 90s, that to me made a big difference because they were missing that take the top off the defense type of guy, and he fit with Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, he did.
You know what I mean? And that made them just indefensible. You couldn't guard them after that. And because what you had to do, Harper wasn't such a great player. He didn't command a double team. But what he did command, because of his speed, is he commanded you put either your best or your fastest defensive back on him. And what that did is if you elected for your best guy, it put less than your best on Michael Irving, which game over. Or if you elected for your fastest, it allowed Irving, who wasn't the burner Harper was, but was plenty fast enough, could generally beat a guy who wasn't your fastest. So he started getting more downfield attempts than before because of that advantage. So it really opened things up for Irving. He was like perhaps the greatest decoy in modern NFL history, Alvin Harper. He was a total decoy. And every once in a while, if you just kind of started assuming he was the decoy, they would throw a 50-yard bomb to him to keep you honest. He was a great fit for that team. So that's another one. You know, when my Niners signed, I think it was Dana Stubblefield? That's who it was. Defensive tackle. Yes. Brian Young was their guy. They already had him. When they signed Dana Stubblefield, I know he's in prison now, but he was an excellent player, and you paired him with Bryant Young. And for a couple of years there, that defensive line, that interior was scary, having to block both of those guys. So he's another one that comes to my mind. And the Giants, I thought when they brought in Amani Toomer, I think he was a free agent. I have to go back and look at that, but he made a pretty good impact for them. I forget how they acquired him. Actually, I thought he was a free agent, but he might have been a trade. I have to look. But there's 5 that come to mind. What about you?
Well, I was kind of hoping for a wide receiver last year, so I didn't. Not Toomer spent his whole career with the Giants.
Okay, so yeah, it wasn't Toomer. Okay, yeah, okay.
I was hoping for a wide receiver last year, so I definitely disagree
on the Von Miller thing.
on the Von Miller thing. I just don't know how much he has left. And that injury, not the easiest thing to come back from.
Yeah, I mean, well, before the injury, he was playing up to his normal standard.
Oh, yeah, but as you get older.
You know what was an impactful free agent signing? I thought Emmitt Smith signing with Arizona. And the reason I say that, yeah, he was at the end of his career. But the reason I say that is I don't think it's a coincidence that the years directly following that were the best years this franchise has had maybe ever. I mean, basically what that did is it produced, at least temporarily, some legitimacy to signing with Arizona, where it's like, okay, if Emmitt Smith can play there, so can I. And then shortly after that, they built the team that eventually got to the Super Bowl. I think he was sort of a foundational piece to establishing enough legitimacy for them to contend on that level. He didn't benefit from it any, but he kind of opened that possibility. I felt the same way back when Philadelphia signed, I think it was Jason Hayward or Jason Worth. I think it was Jason Worth to like a massive contract. Wasn't really worth it, pun intended, but like what it did is it reestablished Philly, which to that point had been for years a laughing stock, as a place that meant real business. And shortly after that, they were World Series champions in 2008. So, and he was part of that team, actually. So I think there's those type of signings that buy you legitimacy, basically. And I think that's maybe where some of these come from, is a place of purchasing your own legitimacy. You're basically buying credibility when you don't have any. That's why I think it's so important for a team like Baltimore, for example, who's claiming to want to do things differently, go overpay for a guy who's really good, but maybe you can't get Mike Trout, but maybe you can get, someone like an Andrew Benintendi, or you can get a guy like, someone like that who's like a Yankees shortstop, DJ LeMahieu, someone of that caliber. You're going to overpay him, and he's probably not going to turn your team around single-handedly, but what he's going to do is he's going to establish you as a place that respected good veterans are comfortable going.
Yeah.
Because they're not right now. and
Right.
who can blame them? Why would they be?
Was the Steelers guy you were thinking of James Ferrier?
Yes, it was.
Because he's on my list.
Yes.
I mean, he
Yes.
flamed out with the Jets.
Yes, he was horrible with the Jets. And
But he won a couple of rings.
that's right.
I have a couple others. Priest Holmes.
Oh yeah, because he played for Baltimore before
He was
Kansas
a
City.
backup on
Yeah,
that
that's
Ravens
right.
team that won. He went to Kansas City and lit it up. Speaking of the Ravens, how about Rod Woodson?
That's a good one. Yeah, because he played all those years with Pittsburgh, of course.
And went from corner to safety.
Yep, that's a good one. What about with the Jets, Pete Kendall, the guard? He was a key member of those teams that went to AFC title games.
He was.
And I forget where he came over from, but he was definitely a free agent signing.
Charles Woodson with the Packers.
I got one. What about Junior Seau signing with the Patriots? He was good for them for a number of years.
That's right.
After all those years with San Diego.
I think the one that moved the needle most for me, and he wasn't number one on my list, but he was number two, was Reggie White going to the Packers.
That's a good one. Yeah, because he was coming from Philadelphia. Yeah, and he instantly made them a Super Bowl contender and then champion. Yep.
Right.
That's true. No, that's a great one. So
there's a lot of good ones. Rank what you have.
All right. Well, number one for me is going to be Peyton Manning, for sure. Number two, I think I'm going to go with one of yours. I forgot about the Reggie White thing for some reason. Yeah, that's definitely an obvious one. So yeah, I'm going with that at number two. I think number three for me is going to be, I think Alvin Harper. I think he really unlocked that offense. Like he was a missing key and just made them completely indefensible. So
isn't it amazing all that time ago that happened?
Yep.
And we're still looking for deep threats for teams.
I know,
today.
Isn't that something?
It is.
So that's number 3. Number 4 for me is going to be Deion Sanders signing with my Niners. That's just a personal thing. And number 5, I think it's a toss up to me between Pete Kendall with the Jets, Emmitt Smith with the Cardinals, or Junior Seau with the Patriots. I'm going to say Emmitt Smith because I really do believe strongly in this concept of purchased legitimacy. And I think he gave them that, even though he played 2 nondescript seasons there himself and didn't make any appreciable impact. What he did is he bought them that legitimacy. And I think that was key to them building the championship team over the Super Bowl runner-up over the next couple of years. So I'm going to go with that at 5. So that's my top 5.
He made them a must-watch team for the first time in a long time.
Forever, yes. Justin Tuck is another one I'm getting a text about. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
With the Giants, so. All right, well, there you have it. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll dive into some NBA on the other side. It's the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Are you like me? You have health insurance, but you don't have dental insurance. Do you need to get to the dentist right away? Maybe you need an implant or some other major service. Well, I found a dental insurance plan that's just right for you. It's called Spirit Dental. Spirit Dental offers a $100 lifetime deductible, a huge network of dentists. And here's the best part. There's no waiting periods. Yeah, that means you can call right now and have real dental insurance for you and your family tomorrow and get that immediate coverage you want. Spirit Dental has plans for just a few dollars a day, up to $5,000 annual maximum, and coverage for implants. Whatever age you are, the dental insurance you need is a free phone call away. Now don't wait, and be sure to ask about Spirit's vision plan. Here's the number: 800-631-9229. 800-631-9229. That's 800-631-9229.
Hey friend, life happens and you need money. What do? You call the special toll-free number we're about to give you. We will send you a link to your phone with details on how you can loan up to $5,000. Couldn't you use $5,000 to pay for your rent, pay grocery bills, get your car repaired, or whatever you need? It's up to you. We don't care. We're just here to lend you the money. And we'll lend people money with good, bad, or no credit at all. Of course, some terms and conditions apply, and you'll see those on the link we're going to send you. So if you need up to $5,000 maybe as soon as the next business day, call this number right now. We will text you a free link with details.
Paid for by Money Mutual. Call 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. That's 800-586-7112.
All righty, we're back here on the Gary Ayd Show. It's great to have you aboard, Gary Ayd, Rich, and Selmo. Time to dive into some NBA. 8 games on the circuit tonight, Rich, the best of which certainly is, without question, Orlando and San Antonio. Can't wait for that one.
Oh, yeah. That's what I like to say, one for the whole family to miss.
I bet you all the players of both teams are like, can we do some load management today? Do we have to play this?
Despite the fact they're trying to put rules in where you can't.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. I like where their head is at with this. I question the teeth that this reported rule would have. So the rule that's being discussed is requiring players to play a certain number of games in order to qualify for major awards. Now, there's a couple of reasons why I think this is kind of a fruitless exercise. One is it might not be a technical requirement, but it's a de facto requirement for the voters as is already for that. I mean, most voters won't vote for someone who played, say, 50 games. for say MVP usually.
Right.
So it's already a de facto rule, if not a literal rule. So that's point one. Point two, and this was interesting. Sam Amico did a nice write up in HoopsWire where I read up on this. And this was interesting. Apparently, this was something that was brought to the league by the Players Association. So the players, by and large, aren't behind the load management. They're not down with it. The league, of course, is not down with it. So then you ask, well, then where's it coming from? It's coming from the team owners, and to a lesser extent, or perhaps an equal extent, the agents, because those are the two parties that have something to lose by way of, quote, overworking someone or overexertion or whatever. Agents want to get as many contracts for their clients as they can, of course. And the owners who are paying for these contracts are understandably concerned. It's like if you buy a Ferrari, you're not going to leave it outside parked on the street, right? You're going to put it in the garage and baby the hell out of it. So it's only natural that those particular parties would look to do that given the finances that are at stake here. But it was interesting for me to learn. I just assumed the players were, partially to do with this. And from what Amico wrote up, they're really not. And it was the Players Association that proposed trying to do something about this. So it's interesting to learn that both the players and the league are basically on the same page with this. But this rule that they're talking about doing, while I like the intent, I just can't see it having any measurable effect, because now that we've established who the people are that are down for the load management, does the owner care if his best player wins MVP? Probably not. It's not that important to him. It'd be nice, but he's not going to risk his investment for it. Same with the agent. If you're in a MVP or Defensive Player of the Year type of conversation, whether you win it or not, you're going to get paid, right? Because you're one of the elites in the NBA. So why am I going to risk it if I'm an agent? So I don't think that this rule bites enough and costs the side that wants this in place enough to get them to come off of it. That's what I'm getting at.
Agreed. I like the rule. I don't think it has any teeth the way it's written. There has to be some other things you can do. I know there are a few players that will take advantage of it. For the most part, they don't want to. I don't agree with Steve Kerr's approach that the best way is just to cut the schedule to 72 games. I know some people are in on that. I'm not one of them. I don't think that's necessary or should be done. Players don't want to sit out as a rule. They never do.
Right. Players want to play.
I understand, especially with the contracts being guaranteed, why owners want to protect their investments.
Mm-hmm. See, go ahead. This is why, kind of concurrently, and this is an ongoing thing. It comes up every so often. It gets, it's like a flame. It burns for a while, then it goes dull and burns again. This push to get NFL contracts guaranteed. I find it interesting that part of the chorus pushing for it are the same fans who will complain about load management. You have to understand something, as you just pointed out, Rich, and you're 100% right. With guaranteed contracts comes load management above a certain financial threshold. So with guaranteed contracts to top flight players, say top quarterbacks, top receivers, top linemen, top defensive backs, you will see, if these contracts ever became 100% guaranteed, you can mark my words, you would see load management. You would see, and the way it would manifest in the NFL, it wouldn't be the same as the NBA because there's so many fewer games. But you would see, for example, let's just say Kansas City was playing, Houston. Patrick Mahomes wouldn't play in that game because they feel they can beat him without him. Right. That's how load management would manifest in the NFL. Good teams or teams with great players wouldn't risk them against inferior opponents. Or the other way it would manifest or be even more nefarious would be, okay, we're out of it. We're 2-9. I'm not going to play my guy. Let's say Lamar Jackson, for example. I'm not going to play Lamar Jackson for the last 7 games because what's the point? You would see more of that. And no one wants that. But that's where I think people are short-sighted with what they root for with some of these things is they don't understand the consequences of getting what they're asking for. It's the old saying, be careful what you wish for.
Right.
So anyway.
It's tough. It really is. There's no easy fix for this.
No, I mean, ultimately, it's totally justifiable why someone paying contracts of that magnitude would want to be cautious with how they utilize that investment. It just makes sense. But the flip side is, it also makes sense that the league would want to feature its best players on a nightly basis. And
well, yeah.
And it does make sense that the fans would want to see the best players.
Right.
Particularly in-house fans is one thing. And that's where this is maybe less of an emergency to me than it is to some other people. I tend to take a big picture view at this. And in the big picture, the in-arena audience, which is the fan base most affected by these type of load management things, is proportionately small compared to the television audience. And if I'm planning on watching a game on TV, let's say I'm planning on watching a Warriors game and Curry's not playing, I'll just change the channel or turn it off and go play video games and do anything else. It's really not that big a deal. It's kind of like, oh, that sucks. Oh, well. But, if I'm a fan that bought a ticket and planned a vacation around it and flew in, or even if I drove locally, like, most people don't live conveniently located. Even if you live in the same general area, you're still probably looking at half a day adventure for most people at minimum to go to a game. So, and usually you buy those tickets in advance and all this other stuff. So I understand where that becomes a problem, but it's a proportionately small part of the overall business that the NBA has to look after. So I understand why it's not just a draconian, you must play, because, this isn't that. So it's like you said, it's not a simple thing.
No, because I am that fan that can only afford a finite amount of games.
Right, of course.
And I pick them wisely.
Right, you want to go and see certain games and certain
players. And I'm
players.
not happy when they're not playing.
Of course.
I don't get a chance to get a refund.
Right.
Player A still gets paid. The only loser in this is the fan.
Right. No, I understand that. And maybe here's an idea. I got a proposal here. It's going to be a little rough because I'm just thinking of it now. But like we established, it's the owners and the agents that are mostly pushing for this load management and making it a reality. Owners, because obviously they're paying the bill for the big contracts. What if instead of tying major awards to games played, you were to create an NBA sanctioned and agreed upon, almost collectively bargained list every year? It wouldn't be collective bargaining, but it would be something similar of, okay, these are the 50 best players in the sport right now, according to the NBA. Owners agree to it. If a guy on that list does not play, the owner has to pay the equivalent of the gate receipts for their home games back, basically has to offer refunds to fans for that game. Any fan who purchased a ticket to that home game that the player who was on that list didn't play in, now you're entitled as a fan to just get a refund to it. How about that?
I think that would work. It wouldn't cover things like travel and hotel, but it would be a start.
Right.
And it would be a nice...
and I think I'm going to venture the guess that 80% of fans who attend any given game do so in a day trip manner. So I think it would help most people. Like, it would solve it for most people.
If it's a day game, I'll drive to like Cleveland that morning, watch the game and
Right.
drive home the same day.
But the good news is if you get the ticket refund, you can go and do something else in the city. You can, make alternative plans and still have a trip out of it. So it's not a total
Right.
waste that way.
Right. If it's a night game, though, I would probably have a hotel.
Right. Right.
Because who feels like starting back on the road at midnight?
Oh, no, definitely not. I understand. But that might be the better approach. And what it would do though is it would make it so that you would get less load management because the owner wouldn't want to just refund tickets for a healthy player. So they would play. So if the players truly want to play, if that's really true, then okay, the person who doesn't want them to play as much as the owner, let's incentivize that owner to reconsider that stance by threatening to take money out of his pocket for just having them sit out to rest the game. How about that? There we go.
What do you think of Kerr's thing about 72 game season?
Not a fan of it.
I'm not either, but I think the one thing a lot of people feel it would accomplish is it would eliminate back-to-backs. Back-to-back games. I don't just mean 2 games in 3 nights in the same city. I mean, night after night is the reason you see a lot of the load management.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of changing the number of games. The NBA has played the same number of games forever. They've done those back-to-backs forever, and deal with it.
Well, why still do them? Fix it. Do less. Enhance the schedule. You have technology that can make that work now.
I mean, if you want to try to eliminate back-to-backs, I guess that's fine. Just do it within the context of the 82 game season. Because what's going to happen is the second we go to 72, it'll be okay for a couple years. Then they'll want 60. Then they'll want 50. And they'll still do the load management stuff. That's the problem with this is you can't give an inch to these people because they're going to want it more and more and more and more and more. So no, I'm not changing the schedule. I'm not changing the number of games played on the schedule. I mean, I'm not shortening the games. I'm not doing any of that. You get paid a lot of money to be available to play in those games. Do it. That's how I feel about that. Now, I think giving Amico his credit, assuming his reporting and analysis is accurate, as it typically is, the problem is the owners and the agents, not the players in the league. So let's move, because winning those awards matters to the players. Doesn't matter to the owner. I don't care.
Especially if a player has a clause in his contract.
Right. Yeah, maybe if anything, the owner doesn't want him to win it because now he has to pay him more.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's if the target is this, you're shooting at that target with the wrong thing. If you have a roach infestation, you don't go and buy lawn feed, you buy roach killers, right? So like right now they're buying the lawn feed because they have a roach problem. It's like, well, that's not going to solve the problem. So that's how I see this. So it's interesting. All right. Now with that said, let's take a look.
Milwaukee at Phoenix tonight might be a game to watch.
Yes. Yeah,
it's on NBA TV.
That's probably the best game on the schedule tonight. I agree.
Phoenix got blown out by the Warriors yesterday.
Yes. 2 other games of significance to me. Well, really 3. The Lakers and the Pelicans are basically tied, fighting tooth and nail for those playoff spots. That game's almost a playoff game for both teams. That game's really important. I think Denver and Toronto has some importance, more to Denver than Toronto. They just need to right themselves here. They just need to get back in the win column. And Brooklyn and Oklahoma City, huge important game for Oklahoma City for the same reasons as the Lakers and Pelicans. They're in that same scrum in the Western Conference.
Right. They have the same record, all 3 teams.
Right. And then the Knicks in Portland is the other local game. I think this game is important for the Knicks in particular. They just got off that 3-game losing streak. It is
keep riding the ship.
Keep riding the ship. That's right. Yep. Agreed. So, what do you make of this Nick game? As far as a matchup, because to me, without
Is
Brunson,
Lillard playing?
as far as I know, he is. Brunson's not. But I tell you what, if I'm Julius Randle, I'm licking my chops to play this front line. Oh, jeez.
Excuse me.
Oh my goodness.
I hit mute too slow.
Making a mess over here. Yeah. If I'm Julius Randle, I'm licking my chops to play this front line. I really am. This is an awful front line defensively. Nurkic is a skilled offensive player, but he's far too slow and bad in space to guard Julius Randle, and they have no one else.
True. True.
This would be, if I'm Randle, I'm mad at myself if I have less than 30 tonight.
Oh, he should have more.
Yes. I'm setting that as a minimum. You might want to check out, that actually might be a fun little prop bet. Well, let's see if we can find the over-under on Julius Randle tonight in terms of his point total, because I'll tell you what, I'm probably going the over almost irregardless of what it is. Let's take a look at our handy sports betting app here real quick and see what we got. Let's go basketball. No, I don't care about the NCAAs. Here we go. Let's go. Where are you, Knicks? Let's see. LA, Brooklyn, Knicks. Okay, here we go. All right. And let's see about, where's teasers? Teasers right here? Nope. Where are we? Here you go. Player props. All right. Julius Randle. Man, I could be a bookie. You know what the over-under is set at?
What?
29.5.
Oh. I've got the over.
I do too. And just so people know what you're getting, I'm on Resorts World. Here is the app I'm using.
That's what I use.
Yes. The over would be minus 110. So you would make, if you bet on that, you would make, if you bet 100, you would make 90. So you'd get back 190 in that example. So anyway.
It's not a bad bet.
No, I don't think so either. So that's funny though.
Yeah, Nurkic is not going to guard him.
No.
He's probably going to guard Robinson. Who is? Grant?
Yeah, no, Randall should kill them tonight. He really should.
I mean, yeah.
I'll put it this way. I think the Knicks have better defenders to try to slow down Lillard than the Blazers have to try to slow down Randall. Even though Lillard's a better player, I think the Knicks roster is better built to try to deal with him than the Blazers roster is to deal with someone like Randall.
True.
All right. So one last game I'd like to break down a little bit. Brooklyn at Oklahoma City. Brooklyn's been playing really well since the trades. They're on a 2-game winning streak. Both teams are on a 2-game winning streak entering this game, as a matter of fact.
Oklahoma City scores some points.
They score a lot of points. That's right. Almost 118 a night. One of the 5 or so best offenses in the NBA. Brooklyn is about a league average, maybe a slightly better than the average team at about 114 a night. The key for me for Brooklyn to try to win this game is going to be, what can you do to slow down that OKC backcourt? Alexander is questionable. My guess is he's going to play. He played in his most recent game. But what about Josh Giddey? You got to slow down one of these guys. If they both have efficient, high-scoring games, if they're both over, say, if Giddey's over 20 and Gilgeous-Alexander is 25 or higher, you're probably in a lot of trouble. If they're putting in 45 or 50 points or more between the two of them, I think you're in trouble. My goal, if I'm the Nets, would be to hold those two to 45 points cumulatively or less. I think if you hold them to about 45, 47 maybe, you can win. If they start getting in that 50, 55, 60-point combined range, you're in a lot of trouble.
Well, if you got them two running that way, and Giddey will get you a ton of assists too.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, it is trouble.
So I think
a lot of trouble.
I think that's going to be key for the Nets.
The over-under is 233.5 for that game. So it's not extremely high.
No, it's a little high. It's a point or two above their combined total averages for the season. I'll tell you this, because I think the Nets are going to win this game. I'm sorry, I think the Thunder are going to win this game. I'm going to go with the over. And the reason I think the Thunder will win this game is they're at home and they need it more. This is desperation for them. They need to win these games. The Nets are 10 games over 500 in a much more settled conference. They're in a different position. If they lose this game, it doesn't really affect them that much in the standings. Oklahoma City needs these games. So I'm going to go with the Thunder out of just pure desperation. So I'm also going to go with the over there.
Good call.
So there you have it. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll close out the show with some news you can use. That's next, the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Coffee Lovers Middletown is now officially home to the home run of our favorite beverage, Days Coffee. Days' patented blend contains approximately 85% less caffeine than other coffees, which makes it better for you, yet unlike decaf coffee, still gives you that great pickup and tastes amazing. Formulated by a retired cancer pathologist, Dr. Grant Lee, Days Coffee is fermented with a patented enzyme that until now required a complex and thus expensive sourcing and production process. With Dr. Lee's formulation, this enzyme's great health benefits can now be brought to your cup quicker, easier, and cheaper than ever before. Here's how you get a hold of this game-changing cup of joe. Go over to RadioOnlyDeals.com and get a $4 gift certificate to Days Coffee for just $2. That's RadioOnlyDeals.com to buy your single-use digital gift certificate for Days Coffee. RadioOnlyDeals.com. That's RadioOnlyDeals.com. Enjoy the preferred coffee of the Gary Ayd Show. Enjoy Days Coffee.
Are you like me? You have health insurance, but you don't have dental insurance. Do you need to get to the dentist right away? Maybe you need an implant or some other major service. Well, I found a dental insurance plan that's just right for you. It's called Spirit Dental. Spirit Dental offers a $100 lifetime deductible, a huge network of dentists. And here's the best part. There's no waiting periods. Yeah, that means you can call right now and have real dental insurance for you and your family tomorrow and get that immediate coverage you want. Spirit Dental has plans for just a few dollars a day, up to $5,000 annual maximum, and coverage for implants. Whatever age you are, the dental insurance you need is a free phone call away. Now don't wait, and be sure to ask about Spirit's vision plan. Here's the number: 800-631-9229. 800-631-9229. That's 800-631-9229.
All righty, we're back here on the Gary Ayd Show, and it's time for some news you can use. What do we got, Rich?
Okay. Pardon?
I said, what do we got? What's news?
Let's start with John Morant. He's entering a counseling program.
Mm-hmm.
Still no timetable for his return. It's unclear what kind of counseling program he entered or how long he's going to be there. What's your take on this?
This seems to me, it reminds me of the whole Kyrie Irving thing from a couple of months ago with the whole, all the check marks that he needed to check to come back. This sounds to me like something that was probably privately more or less mandated of him by either the league and or the team. And it's probably just a, public face type of thing. My gut feeling here is we're talking about him being back in action within the next 10 days to 2 weeks. That's my feeling.
That sounds about right.
That's just a feeling. I don't have nothing to base that on. But the comparison to the Kyrie situation from a month or so ago, which is fairly similar, obviously different circumstances, but the way this is being handled appears similar. So based off of that and how that played out, I'm going to say he's back within 10 days or so. And I also think it's going to get relatively quiet on the Western Front between now and then. I don't think we're going to hear too much more about this until we hear that he's, returning in the next game or two or whatever. I don't think there'll be a lot of other news on this between now and then.
Okay. That sounds about what I had it at, a week and a half to 2 weeks. That makes a lot of sense.
All right.
The Browns, a year after signing Deshaun Watson to that fully guaranteed deal, restructured it yesterday. And the move gives them $36 million in cap space. Nice.
It is.
What do you
nice.
think they need to do with that cap money most?
Who, the Browns?
Yeah.
I would say probably figure out a way to build a offensive line and some quick scat type of receivers or running backs, because you have a mobile quarterback who's going to be out of the pocket a lot, which means a lot of dump off passes, and you need guys who can create yardage after the catch. So I think you need a nimble, fast line and a nimble and playmaking type of receiver and or running back. I think that's the important thing. If I was this team, I would build a fast, athletic line with good pass catching backs and good multi-skilled tight ends and go from there. Given I have a mobile quarterback, that's the way I would approach it.
Okay. Very cool. What else do I have here? Chargers running back Austin Eckler requests a trade during contract talks.
I mean,
strategy, or does he really want out?
I think this strikes me as a negotiating tactic. If there's one thing a lot of these free agent signings have reinforced this year, is that maybe more than any other sport, these guys are after getting as much money as they can while they can get it, because their careers are so short and the contracts aren't fully guaranteed. So ultimately, I think that Eckler would be fine going back to the Chargers if his demands or wants were met. And if someone else is more likely to meet them, I think he's happy to go there too. Of course, he doesn't have the ultimate leverage because he's not a free agent, but that's the feeling I get.
Okay. There was an artist, a local artist in San Francisco, Rita Carvalho, who was doing a different drawing of Jimmy Garoppolo every day until the Niners put this thing to bed by trading him, releasing him, whatever. Yesterday was day 404, and it was her last day. She said she didn't want Jimmy around for another half season. She wanted him around for the next 5 years.
That's nice.
And she wished him well, even though she's a Niners fan, but still wished him well.
Mm-hmm.
She said he had spoken to her. He had reached out. He'd seen the drawings. They put him in all kinds of different situations, like as Indiana Jones and a lot of interesting things. And he said he really appreciated it. It was cool. It was unique. So I think that is different,
cool.
But nice.
Check this out. This coming from Outkick. Jim Fullen is a 56-year-old who is retiring from the post office. He's a military veteran retiring from the post office to enroll at Montgomery County Community College and play baseball. 56 years old. Isn't that cool?
Well, as long as the pitching clock don't bother him, why not?
He's a grandfather of 9.
That is great.
Isn't that something?
That is amazing.
That is so
good for him.
Yeah, that's a good story.
What else do we have here? Georgia Tech is targeting Damon Stoudemire as their next head coach.
I saw
Has
that.
he coached anywhere else?
Not that I'm aware of. I haven't heard anything about Damon Stoudemire, like really since he retired as a player.
Oh, here, he coached Pacific University from 2016 to 2021 and has spent the last 2 seasons as a Celtics assistant. So, okay. Stoudemire said it's an honor to be considered for the job at Georgia Tech. Said it's a very tradition-rich program.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That's really cool.
And they did hire him. Look at that.
All right. There we have it.
Hey, good for him. Good for them.
Damon Stoudemire. Is he going to bring Rasheed Wallace as an assistant coach?
I hope not. Well, remember when Bill Laimbeer went to the WNBA, Rick Mahorn was his assistant.
That's true.
So anything can happen.
Another bit of news here. Number 1 overall seed, Alabama is the South region favorite. You have some insight to their coach, who of course coached at UB prior to taking that job. That's Adam Oates.
Nate Oates.
Nate Oates. That's what I meant to say. Adam Oates is there. The hockey player. Nate Oates. Yep.
Right.
Nate Oates.
Not to be confused with Hall and Oates.
That's right. Not to be confused with Hall and Oates. What do you make of the job Oates has done there? I mean, he's turned Alabama basketball into maybe the best team in the country.
He's made it with recruiting, and he has made Alabama a destination. I say good for him. He's a marvelous human being, and he deserves every bit of success he's getting.
What made him successful at UB that he's taken with him to Alabama? You covered this guy a little bit.
Player relationships. He's great at player relationships. He is very hands-on with his assistants in recruiting. Once he gets them, they're part of his family. If they're out-of-town players, they're over his house for holiday dinners.
That's cool.
He takes them into his family and makes sure like they're not alone at certain times. He is very, very good with his players in that way. And tactically, he's an outstanding coach. But he has relationships with the players that are very good. He and his family are great to his players. So once he recruits you, he wants you, and he looks after you in a lot of ways. He's a good family man. I have nothing but respect for him. Of course, I hope he wins.
Well, absolutely. From what you know of him, he's sort of in that in-between generation where he's not quite a young coach, but he's not quite like one of the dinosaurs that we're seeing all retired now. He's kind of in between. How do you think he's going to handle and manage the new world of NIL and transfer portals and all that?
I don't think he'll have an issue with it. He hasn't said anything negative about NIL. I know he's busy right now, or I would reach out to him, but
well, it's kind of the busiest time of the year for him.
Don't feel comfortable doing that now. But I do speak with him occasionally, and he wants what's best for his players. I don't see him having issues with NIL.
There you go. All right. Well, there we have it. Well, that will about do it for us today. We will be back tomorrow. We begin the NL West in our baseball previews tomorrow. We will continue with NFL free agency as more happens. We'll definitely let you know. Until then, we will see you on the flip side. For Rich Anselmo, I'm Gary Ayd saying so long. We'll see you tomorrow. Coming up next, Rick Tittle here on The Cave.